So let's start with the strategy and the roadmap. I am manager of the Polarion product management team located in Europe, and I'm very happy that I can share this presentation with you today. Before we will get into more details about the presentation, let me share a disclaimer. So even though we're going to talk about the functionality which is already available or planned to be developed, this presentation cannot be taken as any form of the Siemens commitment to deliver the features as described or in the timeline I will be sharing with you. So let's have a look on Polarion and the overall positioning of Polarion within the Siemens portfolio. Polarion was founded as an independent company and acquired by Siemens a couple of years ago. And of course, Siemens has a vast portfolio of these software products. All these products have something in common. We help the customers to manage the complexity of developing their own products, orchestrating their processes. And Polarion has a unique position to help to orchestrate software development processes, ALM, application lifecycle management. But what's happening these days is really the explosion of the complexity, which is meant by the software development processes, is also expanding into the traditional engineering domains. So the complexity of the products is no longer just because of the hardware complexity. It's also driven by the software. And of course, we have seen, I would say almost everywhere around us, that the issues caused by the software development can very simply hinder the development of the entire product and of course, postpone the release date. So what is the competitive advantage and how Polarion can help to tackle complexity at your organization to help you to deliver the products to your customers faster? Three main principles: agility, adaptability, and flexibility. Agility. Polarion is coming from the roots of the software development. Agile manners are with software development for over 20 years, and we're really seeing more and more of that now being expanded also into the traditional engineering domains. And a lot of the companies try to be agile, be able to reflect the needs of the customers in every changing environment. But of course, it imposes additional threats and the challenges to the organization itself, especially when we talk about regulated industries. If there is any regulation or homologation processes that typically requires traceability, auditability, proof points, agility is going against these principles. Being agile and at the same time have the full documentation you can produce together with your document, it's quite challenging. So Polarion is here to help, and in the rest of the presentation, I will give you the answers and examples how exactly Polarion can help you to be agile and still keep you on the safe side from the regulatory perspective. Adaptability. Polarion can scale from the large organization of a team size and also at the enterprise scale. Adaptability means that every user can find the way into their way of using the Polarion. It's not necessarily one size fits all. We are able to tailor the Polarion with the help of the partners, Siemens itself, and of course with the customization and configuration options that are offered directly in Polarion to the end users. They can tailor it to their needs. That adaptability also means that you can hardly find two same Polarion installation around the globe. Flexibility. Polarion is never a standalone tool. Polarion always operates within the environment or the tool chain you have built and you're using as a part of delivering software products, hardware products, or simply as the engineering domains and the processes you have around. That flexibility is a key here. Polarion needs to be plugged into the rest of the tool chain. Polarion can help you to leverage and bridge the gaps that these other tools might have from some specific functionality, especially when we get back to the agility and traceability from the regulatory perspective. Openness of the Polarion make it easy to plug it into the existing tool chains and get it hooked with the existing application, either triggering or loading the data, being able to represent them and store in Polarion to help you to orchestrate the entire process. Now, let's have a look on the strategic directions we have for Polarion within the Siemens portfolio. I mentioned the agility, and compliance in agility is coming as a real challenge. Agility in the engineering domains, not just the software development, simply means that the next phase of our process, developing of a new product, releasing a new version of the software, needs to start before the previous one is finished. In software, we use the waterfall model for decades, and then of course we move to more agile and iterative approach. In the regulated industries, we might see a V model, which is a tradition as well. But on the other hand, the V model reassembles the waterfall itself. It means that we're advancing to the next stage once the previous one is completed. The agility in design of the products means that we might be trying multiple ways in parallel. We're starting the next phase before finishing the previous one. Keeping compliant, having all the track record in that environment is exceptionally challenging. That's why Polarion is coming with the additional functionality supporting the parallel development, enabling the users to have a clear baselines, be able to work in context of a given baseline and given set of the documents to be able to track what is happening right now and not to be overlapping with the other ones that might be working in a different stream on a similar version, next, previous one, in parallel to you. That compliance and the agility comes hand in hand with the verification and validation. Compliance typically requires to have the proof points who have validated these requirements, who have designed the way that it's functional safety. It really delivers what is requested and is coherent with all the regulations and the homologation standards. These days, the validation is typically coming also in a form of a simulations. All the shift left paradigm is coming with the idea that we need to start validating early on, way before we have the final product, final assembly, final integrated product, and we would like to start with a small subsets, starting with the validations, starting with the automated test. Polarion here can help to orchestrate the entire process and also to hold the evidence of these validation and the results, regardless if they are coming from simulations, automated validations through the DevOps pipeline, or manual tests and validations. That automation of the development cycle is crucial here. More and more of these simulations, automated validation, nightly builds are simply coming in a prefabricated way. Tools like Jenkins or GitHub are very strong in building these pipelines, but on the other hand, might miss the information for the traceability, additional documentability, and ability to store all these results in various runs and be able to link them to the very initial requirements, which are giving the answer to the basic question, why I'm building this, why I'm testing, what is the scope of my build, what I'm actually delivering with a given build, and how that build was validated and why. These are exactly the information Polarion can provide on top of these standard DevOps toolchains like GitHub or Jenkins. All of that, together with the parallel development, is coming to the reusability, ability to configure variant management, and also in the future, parameters that will help to parameterize these different runs and the pipelines. Polarion is also coming and supporting flexible deployments from the on-prem private cloud to the public cloud offerings, have the open interoperability supporting various side of the APIs, and of course, scalability from the team size all the way to the large organizations. Traditional Polarion release schedule have 2 releases per year. They're equally sized and coming in April and October. We have just released Polarion 21 R1, where a colleague of mine, Radek Rotil, in several minutes will talk and give you more details and the insights what is in that release. We are typically delivering our features in Polarion in a constant manner. So we are progressively releasing these features over the multiple of the releases, improving them based on the feedback of the early adopters and also you as our customers and the partners that we can leverage. In between of these 2 major releases, there are cumulative hotfixes. We are technically capable of releasing them up to monthly cadence, the same way as, for example, Microsoft Patch Tuesday, but also the cadence mainly depends on the content and especially the need. If there are the 0-day security hotfixes and the patches needed, we might release sooner. If it's more about fixing the findings that came from the early adopters, we might reduce the number not to give you the extra overhead with implementing these cumulative hotfixes. Then, of course, early access program is available for Polarion. If you are more interested to put your hands early on the release before releasing that for the public, please get in touch with me or the rest of the Polarion product management team, and we will be more than happy to sign up you for the early access program. So besides the strategic directions, let's have a look on the roadmap. Polarion roadmap is organized into 4 major swim lines. Agile lifecycle typically holds the new feature development. What is the core of the Polarion? How it helps the organization to become more agile, support the parallel development, evolve and continue, not just from the requirements perspective, but also grow in terms of applications in the multi-domain manner, not just from the software, but also the traditional engineering domains. Keep in sync, have the full traceability. Elevated experience is mainly driven by the feedback loop, by you as our customers. Elevated experience is keeping track of the Polarion from the usability perspective, day-to-day awareness from our users, your enhancement request, and of course also the scalability, how we are keeping Polarion on the edge and scaling up to fit into your needs. Interoperability was mentioned several times already. Openness of the Polarion is key here, and we're constantly upgrading and elevating our ability to integrate with the other tools and also provide APIs that could be easily plugged and used for the custom implementation, partner implementation to fit Polarion into your given toolchain. Last but not least is a cloud offering of the Polarion. We have a Polarion X version, and I will talk a bit more in a minute about that. But it's not just about the Polarion X as the public cloud offering provided by Siemens, but also we can help you to leverage Polarion in your private clouds or the hybrid environments. Now, let's have a look on the details. Starting with the cloud, I already mentioned Polarion X. Polarion X is a SaaS offering of a Polarion provided by Siemens. Very base, professional, and the enterprise are 3 scales we're offering here. Very simplified license model, which also have all the hardware costs covered. Just a note here, the global pricing which is displayed here might not be applicable for your country due to different tax regulations, so please always consult with a partner or Siemens representative to get the relevant offer for your country. Flexibility and easiness of the Polarion X is of course coming with some of the limitations. Polarion X is meant to be used out-of-box functionality of the Polarion, providing all the UI-based customizations and configurations available, but also restricting what could be done under the hood from the Polarion perspective. Polarion X is meant for the customers that need to have fast ramp up, don't want to buy the hardware or own it, and of course are also shooting for the small size teams that might spin up and start up rapidly. If you would like to grow your organization and you are uncertain about the amount of the users you might need, Polarion X could be the offering here. Provided by Siemens as a subscription, as a service, with all the hardware and of course the maintenance cost covered directly in the base price already. If you would like to learn more, please contact the partner of your preference or Siemens directly. And now let's talk about the major functional upgrades we plan for the 21. In Agile Lifecycle Swimline, I would like to remind that Polarion is equipped with the Scaled Agile Framework template. Polarion is the official partner of the SAFe, and we are supporting the latest available SAFe 5.0 processes within this template. It means that we can scale all the way up from the team size to the large enterprise organization and support the additional processes such as value stream management, for example, that will help you to navigate throughout your organization where the real product value is being created. Value stream management can, for example, help to answer the question, I have a prioritized defects that have been recognized after the nightly builds and by the automated test. And the next morning, my engineers would like to identify which are the defects they should start fixing the first. It's not just about the priority or severity, but the value stream management can help you to identify which of these defects are in fact blocking delivery of the features that are bringing the largest recognized value of your product. And these should be the ones that should get fixed first, because this will unblock the releasability of your product first. If you're interested in learning more about the Scaled Agile framework, please consult directly on the Polarion webpage or contact us. Now, the additional major feature we plan to release and constantly upgrade throughout the cycle of the 21 is your ability to track the additional commits outside of the Polarion. functionality which is already available in Polarion. The elevated experience we are introducing here with the Polarion 21 releases is to give you the full flexibility and especially the scalability. The architecture change will help you to manage hundreds of the external repositories in a manner that is being triggered by these repositories going directly into the Polarion instead of polling these repositories, and also give you additional functionality to be able to easily check the connections with these repositories. And we are also targeting the functionality that will simplify the life of the admins when adding a new branch support into these repositories, with automatically recognizing and making them these commits in these branches dynamically available directly in Polarion. That functionality is targeted for the late 21 releases, with the early access already available for those that are interested. Part of the scalable branch repository management is also introduction of the Apache Kafka into the Polarion architecture, right now as the component which needs to be used for these elevated and large-scale deployments. For the future, we are more than open to support the Apache Kafka for the other use cases as well. And we're looking for the feedback from the early adopters and you as the customers, getting the hands-on on that functionality that we can start adapting and of course reflecting your needs. Another functionality that will help to support the Polarion parallel development is ability to branch all the live documents in a collection. Collections have been introduced in Polarion as a concept that enable the parallel development. Collection lives within the single project and helps you to encapsulate a set of the documents, of the live documents in Polarion. Ability to easily branch the documents and have the baseline for the entire collection at once, of course, enables the multiple of these steps and can make the life of these parallel development streams much easier and easily manageable, keeping the track across the set of the documents within the same collection. The parallel development streams can simply help you to orchestrate the processes within the single project without the need to start a new project every time you're starting another phase of the same product development cycle. I also would like to mention how Polarion is well positioned for the validation and verification. I mentioned the need of the simulation. Now let's talk about the overall Polarion position. Polarion is meant to be used for the validation authoring. Validation authoring means that a Polarion is a tool that can supply the information about what has to be tested. While the validation execution can happen elsewhere, there might be the legacy tools, specific test beds you might be using, and also the third-party tools you're already leveraging for the test execution. Polarion is a tool that will help to set the scope of the validation itself and then trigger the validation in these external tools, can also collect the results of the validation itself and store them for the further regulatory auditing and homologation purposes. Ability to use Polarion for the test authoring and also storing these additional results come with the ease of the new structured details that could be simply tracked within the test execution environment. And Zdenek will walk you through more details in a couple of minutes. Now let's have a look on the elevated experience. Elevated experience stream is mainly driven by the feedback loop. Feedback we're getting from users, from customers, from our partners about their day-to-day usability of Polarion. What are the small pain points they simply can live with, but of course are hindering their performance in Polarion? One of them is the ability to notify about the collaboration on the same document. Multiple users can already collaborate on the same live document in Polarion. What we are introducing and also further enhancing in the future releases is the visibility into what other users are on the same document. Already in the 21R1, we released the functionality that gives you the virtual presence, so information that somebody else is editing the same documents. In further releases, we are also targeting the information what these other users are doing on the same document. And at the same time, we're also reducing the number of the potentially conflicting activities. This can help you to leverage a parallel development again, and of course, have the collaboration of multiple users on the same document if needed, without the hassle of being able to save the information at the same time. There are also a couple of these small additions we're adding into your and elevating your everyday productivity in Polarion. Coming from these small points, and especially these are driven by your feedback loop through the enhancement request. Polarion product management team is driving a backlog of the enhancement request. So whenever you fill an enhancement request with a Siemens support center, that's being tracked, and we're regularly leveraging that and using the information about how many requesters, how many customers are requesting the same request, what is that impact of that request, and of course, how can it help to day-to-day usability of the Polarion. And we are keeping a predefined section of our backlog to be able to fill these change requests into the delivery of the Polarion with each and every release. So stay tuned. We appreciate your feedback, and of course, we love to hear from you what you like about Polarion, what you would like to propose to get upgraded, changed, or how to simplify your lives with the Polarion on day-to-day basis. And again, Radek will share more details about what has been improved in the latest 21R1 Polarion version here. Let me talk also about the openness and the interoperability of the Polarion. And let's start with the RESTful API. Polarion already has a vast set of the APIs that could be leveraged for integration with the third-party tools. Starting with the 21 releases, we are also adding RESTful APIs through the Polarion. Existing APIs of the Polarion that might be leveraged for the further and the previous implementations and the customizations on top of the Polarion will be supported going forward. But of course, you're more than welcome to start onboarding with the RESTful APIs that are simply wrapping more of the Polarion functionality and providing the very unified way of communicating with the Polarion. RESTful APIs also come with so-called API gateway that simply has a very unique approach to the authentication and providing the way how to handling at a single point for the authentication, and of course can hinder some of the implementation details, either using different identity providers or also the way how the authentication is being done, including in the future two-factor authentication. It also enables the additional trigger-based use cases for the development toolchain and the pipeline. Out-of-box implementation of the Jenkins integration in Polarion could be also further leveraged using these additional APIs in the future to integrate any other development toolchain of your choice, and of course get it tailored precisely to your needs, still keeping the same level of the security, confidence, and the scalability we're providing for the out-of-box integrations, as long as you are with the RESTful APIs. Polarion team will continue to release more of these RESTful APIs going forward, not just in the 21, but also in the future releases. And when we will be building and introducing new functionality into Polarion, we also plan to introduce more of the RESTful API functionality for these newly introduced features. Let me mention a Mendix. Mendix is a Siemens low-code, no-code platform. Mendix is a platform that can help you to build the application without the previous knowledge of coding. Polarion provides out-of-box connector for the Mendix platform, enabling users, day-to-day users, not developers, to develop their own applications using Mendix on top of the Polarion. Mendix is meant to be used for so-called collaborative applications. Collaborative application means that they should gather information from multiple systems or hinder some of the difficulties of the system itself in front of the users. Imagine that we have an occasional users that might be logging into Polarion once in 2 weeks. These users simply might be overwhelmed with the complexity of the Polarion user interface and typing only a few of the activities and using them in Polarion. Mendix application can simply help to further leverage their usability or information displayed on the screen to the most necessity one without jeopardizing the users with all the information available in Polarion. Besides simplifying the user interface, composite application can also, on top of the Mendix, collect information from the multiple data sources. So similarly, the same user might would like to use Polarion workflow, but check also the information from the ERP systems or the other systems like CRM. Mendix application can simply put all the information on the single pane, on the single glass, and then provide that activity to triggering the further steps in a Polarion workflow directly from the Mendix. So the Mendix composite application are here to help to leverage the further use cases that might be complex, maybe triggering multiple different systems or users if they need to lock the 2 or 3 different systems at the same time. If you would like to learn more about the Mendix, we are more than happy to run a separated and dedicated session how Mendix can be leveraged together with the Polarion. And it's not just about the Polarion, it's also about the breadth of the Siemens portfolio that can use the Mendix and the third-party applications as the ERP, CRM applications, or even the purpose-built applications you might be using internally, and you would like to use the Mendix as a simple low-code development applications. Now let's talk about the other improvements we have in Polarion latest them that are related to the persistency of the attachments, especially with the Jira and the conflicts with the different names. Very similar also to the Azure DevOps connector. These have been improved in the latest Polarion version. We have also introduced the enhanced OSLC support and especially ability to show of the additional information that are gathered or attributes that are gathered through the OSLC directly in a Polarion interface without need to showing the delegated user interface. So directly within the Polarion work item information, you might see additional attributes that are actually collected through the OSLC links. And with that said, let's have a look beyond the 21 only. We will continue delivering and building Polarion features in these 4 work streams: Agile Lifecycle, Elevated Experience, Interoperability, and the Cloud. I was mentioning that the Agile Lifecycle is here to help you to leverage the parallel development, streamline and orchestrate all the engineering processes happening in the organization. I was explaining the need of having agility in a regulated industries and what the challenges are coming with the Polarion. We will further continue of targeting and elevating the functionality for that, either coming from the parallel development, additional variant management, and also introduction of the parameters that are planned to help you to leverage those different variants. Elevated experience, mainly driven by the feedback loop. Please don't hesitate to contact Siemens directly through partners or on sessions like this. We're looking for your feedback, both from the usability, scalability perspective, and also everyday productivity. Interoperability, I was mentioning the RESTful APIs, and we will gradually continue building more and more of these APIs available, not just in 21, but also in the 22 and further releases. And cloud, will continue delivering the best-in-class experience for our cloud offering, Polarion X, and also help you to leverage the private cloud offerings on top of the Polarion if needed. Thank you for the strategic update. Thank you for listening. And now I'm opening the stage for your questions and comments.